Hello, curious researchers. Today we're going to talk about what is up to you and what is not up to you. Which part can you control and which part does require letting go of control, letting go and trusting that you are going to get to that PhD. So I believe that we all have this part that wants to control everything. Maybe we can connect it to our mind. Our mind really wants to figure out things, get the formula, get the algorithm, get the statistics, and that we have figured it out, and then we can do the cruise control and everything is fine. And then it goes to the next stage that we believe if we do everything that is up to us, then we will be able to guarantee a certain outcome. And unfortunately not. None of us can guarantee a certain outcome. And I want to say, we are not God. If you don't believe in God, we are not the universe. We have not created ourselves. We have not created this universe. And believing that we can control certain things can really be detrimental to our well-being, but it's also false. And yeah, we didn't come to this planet because we really, really, really wanted it, and we put a lot of work into it, and we did everything we could to get here. This was something that was given to us. And also zooming in the PhD, I did not get my PhD position because I was the best candidate ever, but because I was the best candidate at that given point in time for that given group. And best candidate, when we say best candidate, we immediately refer to the CV, how many boxes did we tick, and this means being the best. We make a ranking list and that's it. But human interactions don't work like that. There was something when I entered the room, when I had the interview, when I gave the presentation, when the group heard me speak, when they saw me present, when we had lunch together, when they were showing me the labs, when we were entering the elevator, all these tiny, tiny little things, all the tiny interactions led to defining what best means at that given point in time for that given interaction. It doesn't mean that I would be the best candidate for any other group, any other position, but it just happened so that there was a match at this point in time. And maybe you also have an example where you have moments in your life where you desperately wanted something to happen and it didn't. So you did put all the work, you did put everything that was up to you, and the outcome did not arrive and it was not as you expected it to be. So for example, you can be, let's refer to the PhD, you can be doing a lot of experiments and going towards really publishing a paper, and then somebody else publishes the exact same thing. So if it was up to you, then you can say you can guarantee an outcome. But there are circumstances around us. There is the rest of the universe that happens around us that also has a saying in our outcomes. And it can suck, if you really want to get somewhere and the outcome is not what you wanted, it sucks. But there's a learning from it as well. So we can turn to it and look what other people did and learn from their experience and just complement the results that they have published and continue and do something extra. Or maybe we can reach out to them and have a chat how they did it, what was different, and find these little differences that were unique to their case and that were unique to our case, and maybe we complement the paper. Maybe we make a collaborative paper afterwards, or maybe we find tiny details that are going to feed the direction that we are going to go so that we publish our results. I want to say there is place for everybody. There is place for you, there is place for your results, there is place for other institutions and other people's results. And there is no limited amount of papers that we're going to publish. We are going to publish probably unlimited amount of papers until we're alive. This is something that is absolutely increasing. And you will get the chance to do your part in it as well. Maybe some of you will be more lucky and you will get to publish more papers, and the other ones will be, quote unquote, less lucky, will publish less papers, but will leverage on something else that is happening. Maybe we'll go to more conferences. Maybe we'll get more trainings. Maybe we'll get best friends during that PhD. Maybe we'll get a partner during the PhD. Maybe we'll get a permanent position during a PhD. There are so many things that can happen around it that not necessarily lead to these KPIs like number of papers or the publications, conferences, what can be fit in your CV. And I want to say in your dry CV, because when you appear from that CV, then something else appears as well. And when we talk about circumstances, let's give this example. Like, programming nowadays is a basic skill that almost everybody needs to have. If you wanted to be a programmer 20 years ago, you would have had an open field and you could have chosen to the environment where you want to work. But nowadays, if you want to be a programmer, you really have to find what is your unique signature in order to be one of the few quote unquote skilled people, but people who can distinguish themselves on the market. Before, distinguishment was just having a skill of programming, and now it has to be something else. Now, just because there are circumstances around, it doesn't mean that we should wait in our room and sit and wait for things to happen or not happen to us. Because yes, if we wait in the room, for sure nothing is going to happen. Something is going to happen, but it's not going to move in the direction where we want it to happen. So there are multiple components in here. If you need a formula, we do need to put our part. So there is a component of us in it. We do need to put the work towards what we desire, towards publishing papers, towards writing thesis, towards finding friends, towards finding job. So there are some steps that require our action. But the outcome will not be determined by us alone. It will be determined by the circumstances that we have and the point in time where we're in. And you can say it will be defined also by destiny, God, universe, something that is much, much, much bigger than us. Nevertheless, the biggest part is us. The biggest part is us, but you are not alone. This is the message of this podcast. There are our actions and we are going towards certain outcomes, but we are not alone. There is something that is going to surround all these actions and wrap it in a certain way that it delivers an outcome, not necessarily the outcome. And the outcome might come later than you imagine. So maybe you imagine you are going to publish 4 papers in 4 years, and it's going to be every year. So every year you're going to produce a paper. But what is going to happen that maybe you're not going to have the results for the first 3 years, full 3 years. And then in the 4th year, you accumulate all this knowledge and you produce 4 papers in 1 year, and maybe in less than 1 year. And I'm sure that you have examples like this already that are happening in your PhD. It just requires a certain dose of action and a certain dose of letting go and continuing with other things that are happening in our life at that moment and in our PhD at that moment. For example, if we want to publish papers, there are a lot of steps before we submit to the journal. First of all, we need to figure out what is our research proposal and what part of that research proposal can be used to publish papers. So imagining leading literature review, finding where are the gaps and what is the gap that we can fulfill. And then also aligning with our professor to escort us on that way, and to help us to get to that point where we are going to publish to the journal or submit to the journal. Because having this relationship with the supervisor is very important, as this person is going to be the biggest support or the biggest blockage on your way towards getting there. This person's name needs to be there, and this is like a quality check that you need to pass first in order to submit to the reviewers. And then imagine you have done all this crazy work until submitting to the journal. And then what happens? You have no control over it anymore. Then it is in the hands of somebody else. Then the editors are looking for reviewers. This can take weeks usually. And when the reviewers are found, it takes a few weeks also until they review it and give feedback. So what can happen, what we can do, is that we can grab on it and try to think of all the possible outcomes and be in a constant grip, or we can let it go and continue doing other things that are on our agenda, because there are many other things that are now on your agenda once you have submitted one paper. You just continue doing research until it leads to maybe another paper, or until it leads to the finalization of your PhD, or until it leads to quitting your PhD, whatever your way is. So the part of the circumstance here and the part of the bigger picture is you're going to be assigned reviewers that you don't know who they are. It will also depend on these people, how much they are involved, how much they understand, how much experience they have in reviewing papers. And then you are going to get one of the two outcomes, either, or three, let's say. Either you are accepted, that's it, no major remarks. Either you are accepted, but you need to do some changes on the paper, so it's conditional acceptance, or you're going to be rejected, and then you're going to get a feedback why you're rejected. In any case, I would say amazing, really amazing. Like, if it's accepted, good, you did your part of the work, it was accepted. If it was accepted with changes that need to be done, it helps you to tune in the changes and make that paper better. So that's why these people are there on the other side. If you were rejected, then this is amazing, because you have all this input of how you can make your paper better, that you can implement, that you can learn something from it, and do maybe extra experiments, add things to it, and resubmit again, or make a different spin, make a different story, submit to another journal. Many other possibilities are out there. But what is important is that you have gone through this whole loop of everything that was up to you, and then you delivered it to the universe out there to deliver you the results back. And the most important part in here is that you did all these actions along the way. It's not the fact that you get this response, yes or no. It's really the fact that you did all the steps that were required from your side. Because once you have done all these steps, then it will be much easier to do them again. Then you have learned a bunch of things. You have learned what it means to get to the point of submitting a paper. You have also partially learned what it means to have a paper published, because what determines whether you're going to have your paper published or not is a bunch of factors. But what is most important is that you have gone down this road, and you know the exact point next time maybe when you will get a yes. And you can say that this is going to be the same thing for a bunch of other things in life. And I'm going to give, for example, dating. What you're going to do is you are going to go on multiple dates until you find a person, a point in time, like a bunch of circumstances that are aligning, and you know what it means to get a yes. And you will know how it feels because you have also done your part of doing all the work beforehand before arriving to the point of getting a yes, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it is getting your paper accepted, whether it is getting your PhD ultimately. Because getting your PhD, you already know what it means if you are almost at the end. Because you have done all the work that was needed to get to the point of saying, here is your diploma, and now you are a doctor of philosophy. So, the message here is to attribute luck and success, and at the same time lack of success, to something more than just yourself. To have pride in the fact that you are putting all the action, you are putting all the work, you are doing everything that is up to you, but acknowledging that there are circumstances such as your group, your supervisor, your peers, your institution, your country, and who knows what else that play a big role as well. And whether you believe it or not, also something bigger than humans that plays a role as well. So all these things that I have said here are very beautifully illustrated in Viktor Frankl's book, who is a Nazi camp survivor. And he wrote this beautiful book, A Man's Search for Meaning. So I will finish by citing him that everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, which is the last of human freedoms. It is choosing how one is feeling at any given set of circumstances. If this inspired you, whether it was the quote or anything else that you heard, I'm very curious to hear from you, and I'm waiting for you in the discovery call.